This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace.
Good morning. Welcome back to Saturday Morning Mysteries. We are your hosts. I'm Grace.
And I'm Alexis.
And we are so excited to be bringing you our second episode of our Courage the Cowardly Dog arc, as we've started calling them, which I really like. And as we start from Alexis today, I'm not sure. Do we have any other business? I have one thing before we dive into your episode.
I don't know what you're going to say, but if everyone wants to just drop a like, share, comment, all that, follow us on social media, etc. at @SatMoreandMist. Other than that, you say your business. If I haven't already.
No, the business. Well, originally, we were talking about at some other point in the past, like, oh, we should give what we now call our executive producer credit. But this morning he said he wanted to be called a sponsor, and so excited to introduce our first sponsor. Justin, who
is he here? Is he in the room?
No, he's downstairs.
Oh, damn it. I was so waiting for him to just like pop up. Like he's been there the whole time waiting for us to get started. Like, come on, but like you can't tell me because it's a surprise. Yes, our sponsor. Thank you, Justin. It's glad to have you on board.
Thanks for your Zoom account.
We truly appreciate it. Yes, nice and generous of you. Anyone else out there who wants to sponsor us in various ways, feel free.
Look how good this commercial was.
SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com. But Justin gets first dibs on the end credits. So sorry.
Which in reality, the reason why, again, we were like, oh, we'll call you executive producer because we use your Zoom account. But then we were like, we don't want to edit the end credits. We've already recorded it and made them. We're not going to change it.
So instead,
this is sponsorship commercial.
These messages brought to you by Justin Creer. Put like the cute little like PBS music in the background.
I'll insert just a little picture of him right here for our YouTube watchers.
Cool.
Yep.
So now they know. Yeah. And now if you're wondering like, oh my gosh, who's supporting them and doing this? Who's funding this project? So I don't even really know if you could say he's funding it. He's just like volunteering, a volunteer sponsor. Yeah, it's him. So send your complaints that away, ladies and gents. This is what you get, Justin. You wanted to be a sponsor?
This is what happens. So anyways, with that note, I'll pass it to you, Alexis, for your episode, your first episode of Courage.
My first episode of Courage. I'm very, very excited for it. I warned Grace right before we hit the record button for today's episode. I warned her that this episode is very funny in its own kind of creepy, odd, weird way, but it is indeed, yes, also creepy, odd, and weird. I'm going to jump right into it.
Okay.
It is called Human Habitrail, and it is from season 2, episode 5A. So the first half of that episode. And a Habitrail, for those who don't know, because I did not have any rodents as pets growing up, it is like a cage house thing for a hamster. It's got like the tunnels and stuff going through it and all of that. So those cool, like, whatever with the tubes and all that cages that you see, that's essentially a Habitrail. Interestingly enough, though, this episode is not about a hamster. I'll get to that in a moment.
Wait, didn't you just say the episode's called a Human Habitrail?
Human Habitrail. Great. Yes. So awesome, right? Yes, we're getting off to a good start. If you think about what that might mean. So anyway, this episode came out, by the way, February 16th of 2001. But let me get right into it.
Okay.
So dear audience and Grace, of course, today I will be telling you the tale of turned tables, a tale of revenge, the tale of Lulu May. Now, who is Lulu May? You may be asking.
I see what you did there.
let me wildly speculate. I'm going to wildly speculate at the front of this episode. We will get to Courage and Mariel and Eustace momentarily, but indulge me now, if you will.
Oh, I will.
Lulu May was born only a couple of years, I suspect, before today's episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog takes place. And shortly after his birth, he was sold to a mad scientist where he would be used as a testing subject. But before I go any further, let me clarify that Lulu May is not a human.
I was going to ask that.
Lulu May is a gerbil. Dr. Gerbil.
I'm trying to like remember what he looks like.
Creepy as hell. Honestly, like the appearance of him is what really made me want to do this episode. Okay. So as we see him in today's episode of Courage, he's a giant gerbil standing on only his hind legs. He's probably like waist high to a human. Okay. He's got purple fur. He's wearing like a checkered, nice like pleated suit. Jacket and like a blue polka dot bow tie and like a cap that has like a green stripe on it, and he drives like this cool 1950s like sports car. I'll get more into his personality in a moment, but yeah, but it's also just like the way that he's looking at you, like he's kind of like jagged gerbil teeth, which I learned from researching gerbils for this. They do have issues with their teeth because they constantly grow and can get mangled very easily. Interesting. And it's like got these protruding eyes that are kind of like pointing in different directions. And he's always like kind of hunched over, like, you know, with his hands a little like scheming. Exactly. Okay. So
I don't know if I remember this one. I'm very excited.
He appears in one episode. Okay. He's only in one episode. Okay. So yeah, but in my opinion, he should be in many, many more. If they ever for some reason redo Courage, I would love to see more Lulu May, but I will get to that more at the end. Let me briefly kind of wildly speculate on what turned Lulu May into the crazed, deranged criminal that he was on the day that he encountered the Bragg family at their farm in Nowhere, Kansas. So Lulu was born, I assume, to a domesticated gerbil and a small litter of 3. Unfortunately, though, he was the runt of that litter, and he was thus neglected by his mother and faced almost certain starvation. The poor boy. But not long after his birth, I assume he was donated to a new home once his initial owners saw that he may not survive. And I wildly speculate that these original owners just donated him to like their brother or something like that. So in this new home, Lulu May, he was initially treated with great care. He was fed, he was bathed, groomed around the clock, given, you know, these nice, sweet new digs and this cool tank. He had an exercise wheel, everything that he could dream of, cardboard to chew on, stuff to like
dream. We all share that dream.
We all share. All I want is some cardboard, damn it, and some attention from my new owner. Well, that probably doesn't sound right. Got to backpedal on that. So anyway, he quickly came to love his new life. And he was like cursing the life that he had had only a few short days earlier for the short lifetime of a rodent.
Yeah, how long do gerbils live?
I don't know how long they tend to live, but I know that they mature. Male gerbils mature around like 70 to 80 weeks, I think, or days. And then women mature around like 50 to 60 days or something. So like, I mean, they can
the first like 6 months they're adults.
Yeah, they're pretty much. Yeah. They're like, okay, time to have kids. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So not probably very long.
Yeah. Like I think they could live for a while, but a lot of them die because like they're very fragile because they're small little rodents and like people don't really know how to care for them. I did do a lot of gerbil reading.
I know, that's why I asked you this question. I was impressed that you had that.
I'm not an expert. This is all half research stuff, but apparently a lot of gerbils die from like playing in wheels and getting stuck and falling off of things and like breaking. It is really funny. The Wikipedia page, it's sad but also very funny. It said a list of health concerns is like all of those things that I just listed. which results in a fractured spinal cord. Not funny, but in parentheses after that, it said, of which there is no cure. Like, damn it, so close. We can cure cancer. We can cure all these
but
other
the gerbil
STDs,
spinal fracture.
The spinal
I
cord
hope
fracture.
there's one researcher somewhere in the world, like one veterinarian dedicating their life to solving gerbil spinal
fractured spine.
I will solve it.
We need more gerbils in the world after all, right? Aren't they on the endangered species list?
I actually have multiple gerbil tangents, but I'll wait until the end.
Yeah,
Get back to your story.
Actually, this episode made me realize that I probably could talk about gerbils for a really long time. There's so much more I want to say, but maybe at the end, let me get back to Lulu May here, yes. the main gerbil on our minds today. So Lulu May, he's in these new digs. He's being taken care of. And he starts to actually thrive. He is growing, he's maturing, he's getting the right nutrients because he's no longer being neglected by a mother or anything like that. But at the same time, once he is starting to grow, he's noticing a change in the attitude and the treatment of his new owner. And one day in particular, the owner, he comes over and scoops Lulu out of this gerbil tank. And Lulu just like got this feeling that something wasn't right. Like he wasn't about to be groomed or he wasn't about to be fed. And so the owner is carrying Lulu through all these hallways in the house that Lulu's never seen before because he's literally been alive for like 2 weeks and has been in this one tank.
He's a gerbil.
He's a gerbil. He doesn't know. And he's so unsure of where they're going. And eventually the owner opens a door and everything turns white. The walls are white. The tables are white. All of this like mechanical equipment everywhere. And Lulu realizes, because somehow he does know, that he is now in a laboratory. He is no longer in the comfort of his brand new tank. And so Lulu, he's very nervous. He's trying to skirmish out of the grip of the owner. He's panicking. He's all like doing his little gerbil squeaks. But there's nothing he can do to get out of his grasp. And so
too good to be true, Lulu.
Too good, Lulu. I'm so sorry. And so the owner, he drops Lulu into this another new deep tank. But to Lulu's shock, this tank is filled with other gerbils already. And so Lulu, he's entirely unsocialized. He doesn't know how to react. And so he just hides himself into a corner and burrows underneath these little cardboard shreds and this fake grass, trying to calm his nerves. And throughout this first day in this tank, Lulu would watch as this, now he realizes, mad scientist owner of his would approach the tank, coming back and forth, collecting one gerbil after another, and unfortunately bringing very few of them back. And Lulu was like, oh my God, this is a hellish nightmare. I need to get out of here. I need to be rescued. So he is like hearing the sounds of machinery going off behind him, and he's hearing the scientists grumbling about all of these failed experiments and whatnot, and the unfortunate squeaks from his former tank mates.
Yikes.
And he knows that the scientist, this mad scientist, must be doing something terribly awful to these gerbils. These gerbils who were, honestly, he realized, just as scared and confused as he was. So at this point, Lulu's like, okay, I got to find a way out, not only to survive, but to set this entire tank of gerbils free from the experiments of this mad scientist. It's my turn to stand up and be a hero. And so he began to closely observe the surroundings and, paying attention to the mad scientist, like the frequency that he would come back and forth to the cage and how many gerbils he would take, for this type of experiment or that type of experiment, just so that he could like plan, or create a plan of attack to find his way out. And so one day it was Lulu's turn to be picked for an experiment. And he knew that this was his chance. He's like, all right, I'm going to be the big hero. I'm going to save these gerbils. And so there was an experiment that the scientist was working on. Let's say he was trying to make some sort of like hair growth serum or something like that. And so he was testing it on Lulu. It wasn't really showing any results, and he was getting angry. And as he was looking away to write something down, Lulu took this chance to just jump out, lash out, and bite the scientist. Right? I mean, it's adorable. It would hurt, I guess, a little bit, but
you just told me about those teeth.
Yeah, they're mangled. Damn it, he's not been getting the right amount of like cardboard and millet. Anyway, gerbil talk aside.
Gerbil talk.
Yeah. So he lashes out. He attacks the scientist. The scientist like knocks shit off of the lab table because out of reaction, not knowing what's going on. And Lulu is able to like run over to the control panel, press a button that like opens up the tank, sets all the gerbils free, whatever. But in the process, the scientist knocks Lulu off into like this puddle of chemicals that were spilled off of the lab table. And unfortunately, this plus the other stuff he was doing during the experiment has a combined effect that unfortunately turns Lulu's fur purple, makes him immediately grow up to like waist height and like get super big, get all giant. And it gives him the ability actually to talk. Oh. He can start speaking like a human now. Who knows what was in those toxic chemicals? But he immediately lashes out again, scaring the scientist who's like, oh my God, what the fuck did those chemicals do to you? Yep. And he starts just like chasing the scientist around this lab, giving the other gerbils, giving the other gerbils a chance to escape, get to freedom. He's like pouring bottles of these random test things onto the scientist. Well, like, how do you like it?
He is like the gerbil hero. He's like a gerbil god for these other gerbils.
All these other gerbils are loving him. And let me tell you, that narcissism, it'll quickly turn into like straight up narcissism. As I will get to. Yes, I'll get to that later in the episode. But essentially, so he's got the scientist trapped and cornered. He like runs and steals his clothes and like starts grabbing some of his lab equipment, grabs his car keys, loads all this equipment and the scientist into the car, which again, I mentioned it earlier, but like, I gotta say it again, it's this cool, like 50s kind of like sports car kind of thing, like what, like maybe Don Draper would be driving anyway. And so he steals the car as well. He's like, I guess I'm tall enough to drive.
I guess I know how to drive. I guess I know what a car is.
Again, stay away from toxic chemicals, ladies and gents.
Do a lot to you.
And he just takes to the road. He finds himself then in the middle of nowhere.
Wait, and like the scientist is like in the trunk?
Yeah, he takes the scientist. The whole way. He doesn't kill the scientist. No, he's not a killer. He just he needs test subjects.
Oh,
and so yes, and so the gerbil, he digs himself a nice hole / like burrow, home, whatever. Tosses the scientist in, and then begins this years-long streak of essentially hunting down owners of quote unquote trapped animals, kidnapping their owners, freeing the animals, and using the owners for experiments, many of which were for cosmetic products that he then sold in commerce under the line of Doc Gerbil's, like Doc Gerbil's deodorant, Doc Gerbil's hand soap. Yes. And so now Doc Gerbil, he's moved on to his newest invention. It's a vacuum cleaner, actually. And this vacuum cleaner, it has the ability to suck up anything in its path, even perhaps a human. And he just could not wait to get out and get the vacuum out into the market, get it sold, all of this, see it on shelves. But first, he had to test a few bugs out, and he needed some new test subjects. And you see, dear audience, Doc Gerbil, aka Lulu May, he was quite successful in all of these evil schemes of freeing animals and testing his toxic creations on humans, until he happened upon the Bag family farm and ran into Courage the cowardly dog. And so, ending our wild speculation about his backstory and entering Courage.
Yes.
So It's a cleaning day around the farm, aka
Okay.
at least for Muriel
Muriel.
and Courage.
Yep.
Eustace is just trying to eat his soup, which is like grossly covered in dust because they're trying to clean everything. And Muriel's complaining about how they don't have a vacuum at the house, and it would make things so much easier if they could vacuum rather than just brushing dirt from one corner to the other. And Eustace is complaining like, no, you're just not cleaning right. Like, whatever. Again, who's the real criminal in this show? Psychological abuse. But as Eustace is grumbling to Muriel, there is none other than a knock at the door. Muriel goes to get it, and we see none other than our dear friend for now, Lulu May, Doc Gerbil, wearing his cute little pleated suit, and he's got, he's got his vacuum in hand.
Yeah, so far I don't dislike him.
I know you don't. Yeah. You will soon. But for now, yes, us. We love painting complex villains on this show. So, as Muriel, she opens the door, and Doc Gerbil, this is the first time we really hear him speak in the episode.
Let's hear the impression.
In a total, like, Southern 1950s, shall we say, like snake oil salesman voice, aka honestly just like a chilled out, an even more chiller, relaxed version of Matthew McConaughey's voice, if you ask me.
all right.
Pretty much. Ma'am, I have got the answer to your workaday woes.
That was a great impression.
I have been practicing because when I first heard it, I was like, oh, there's no way I can't try to impersonate this guy.
Like you, I hope you are doing a lot more of these during this episode.
Oh, there's so many. He talks a lot in this episode.
Oh my God, I am over the moon.
Like now, Muriel responds and says, "You do?" And he makes his Dr. Gerbil, he just like barges into the house like, "Allow me to have your honor of cleaning your soup, sir." He like pulls a vacuum out and just like vacuums up the soup off of, or the dust off of Eustace's soup. And anyway, so he's just like showing this vacuum off to Muriel and Eustace, and he's asking the Bag family some questions. So he's like a straight up door-to-door. He's assuming this door-to-door salesman type of vibe right now. Yeah. And he's like, well, let me just ask you a few questions here to help fix you up with a perfect vacuum for your needs. And he like whips out this clipboard, and the questions are hilarious. He's like, question number 1, do you have mole allergies? And Eustace tries to answer like, well, usually, but he cuts him off and he's like, question number 2, if 2 trains leave Chicago at 9 a.m., do you snore? Have itchy eyes? And Courage is like, wait, what? No one else is going to stop this man. It's Gerbil. And ask him what the hell is going to Gerbil man and ask him what's going on here. And so Muriel, she chimes in like, excuse me, Mr. Sorry, because I'm just going to keep impersonating him.
Does he correct him and say doctor?
He interjects like, actually, it's Dr. Gerbil, but my friends call me Lulu May. I love this dude. I love this character.
I still don't dislike him.
I know it's really hard to like dislike him.
Yep.
But again, you'll see soon. Muriel's like, okay, well, sorry, Dr. Gerbil, if you don't mind me asking these questions. I mean, they just really don't make sense. And so Eustace is like, yeah, what are you asking us all this shit for? He doesn't say shit, whatever.
Might as well.
May as well. Lulu May is like, science, my friends, it's science. Now, are you all alone here and far from police or other law enforcement officials?
Red flag.
Yeah, big red flag. But then at that point, he's like, all right, so I think I've got like the perfect vacuum cleaning machine for you all. And Courage, of course, the smart boy, good boy that he is, he's very skeptical and sus about Lulu May. Good. And his suspicions rise when, after Lulu shows them the vacuum, Courage swears that he can hear like faint shouting coming from inside the vacuum. Someone screaming, help. Get me out of here. Is anybody out there? Help. And so Courage is trying to get their attention, like, hey guys, something's wrong, as he always does in his theatrical ways. But at this point, they're not paying attention to him. Muriel is so focused on getting something to clean, and Eustace is just like, get out of my house, whatever. So they're just both kind of like, whatever, Courage, you shut up. So they make the sale. Lulu makes the sale. He gives the vacuum to Eustace and Muriel. But Courage, he's still like yelping and jumping up and down and shrieking. And Lulu May actually like takes Courage to the side while, Muriel's like fantasizing about cleaning and Eustace is eating his soup.
Great.
Lulu May takes Courage to the side and very interestingly whispers to him, don't worry, I've got it all under control. Everything's going to be fine now. And Courage is he's even more confused. Like, what are you talking about?
What's under control?
What is under control? What do you mean everything's going to be fine?
Yeah.
And so Lulu May, after saying this to Courage, he walks back over to Muriel and Eustace, and he asks them if they're all good. They're all settled in. They're happy with their purchase. And they're like, yeah, we're good. We're fine. And Lulu May is like, good then. Picks up the vacuum, flips it, reverses it, turns that sucker on full power, holds the hose attachment up to Muriel and Eustace, and just straight sucks them in there one by one.
Damn.
Courage at this point is absolutely flabbergasted and literally shattered. But Lulu May just is like, you're free now. Finally free. And then just like runs out of the house. Yeah, like, all right, another job done.
You're welcome.
On to the next one. And so meanwhile, inside of the vacuum, it like shows what's going on in there. And we see Muriel and Eustace, they've shrunk down to like the size to be able to like be in a vacuum. And they're like lost in these giant piles of dust and they're like kind of swimming their way out of them, and they encounter another unfortunate soul. We assume the woman who Courage heard shouting from there, who has also been vacuumed. My guess is she was the last stop on Lulu's way over to the Bragg farm. And so this woman, she's very interesting. I just have to describe her because she shows up a few times throughout the episode. It's funny too, because as I described her in my script, I wrote down just like lint lady. I don't know. They don't give her a name. But then when I went to the Courage wiki page after writing this, that's what they credited her as. So, if that helps I'll paint a picture here. She's very tall and like skinny and has pale blue skin. Or like very like light blue skin and this long protruding jaw, very few teeth. And the teeth that she does have are like green and rotting. And she has like very disheveled red hair, like afro sticking out in like different directions, like a ripped up dress and eyes that are, we'll just say distressed is probably the nicest way I can put it. Who knows? So maybe, she was his first experiment with the vacuum like months ago. And it seems like she's been in there for a while because Eustace and Muriel ask her, like, how the heck do we get out of here? And she is just like, no, all you need to know is that this is my half of the lint and that's your half of the lint. Oh God, remember she's been that. There a long time. We won't have any problems. She's been in there a little too long. And so anyway, in the real world, in the outside of the vacuum world, Lulu May, he has left the farm. He's jumped back into his cool sports car and he's like driving off. But Courage, the not so cowardly dog in this instance, he runs, he books it after Lulu May, jumps and like bites onto the back of the car, crawls underneath and is like hitched underneath the car, holding on like, no, I'm not leaving them. I got to find out where he's taking this vacuum. Yes, super badass Courage. Boy. Yes. And so Lulu drives directly to this gerbil hole that he's dug in the middle of wherever, nowhere, Kansas. Adorably also, he's added like a nice little welcome mat and a mailbox just in case. I mean, he clearly has like a whole enterprise in the cosmetics and like hygiene industry, so he needs to get mail one way or another.
He's gotta get those paychecks.
Yes. And so he hops out of the car He's got the vacuum with him, throws that in, dives on into the hole. Courage, he waits back for a couple seconds, like stakes out the area, and then jumps on in afterwards.
Wow.
Again, Courage is really not a coward in this episode.
Yeah,
I would also like to point out. So we'll see, though, it continues. Inside of this cave, burrow, whatever, which apparently gerbils do actually have like ridiculous tunnel and channel systems that they dig. Yeah. Cool. We actually see a lot of the horrors of what Lulu May has been up to in the past couple of years since he was mutated or what have you. We see like this prison cell type thing filled with pet monsters, or maybe like prisoners, the people who he has kidnapped in the past and experimented on. But I say this with uncertainty of like what it is, because it's dark and we only see their eyes, and creepy. Their eyes are all different. Yeah, very creepy. Like they're different colors and they're all like pointy eyes. And yeah, so I'm like, oh my goodness, who is the company you're keeping here? But he's also got like this little lab setup area and an experimenting area, and there's, it's just like the creepy stalactites and stalagmites like dripping and all that, and just very dark and dank looking. And so Lulu, he whips this vacuum out onto like the lab table. He sets it to exhaust, and he shoots Muriel and Eustace and the lint lady into a Habitrail.
Lint lady gets out.
The lint lady is finally free. She's like, what is this? There's no lint out here.
Get me back in the lint.
And so he puts them, into a Habitrail, the human Habitrail that is sitting in his lab. And first off, he picks up the lint lady and he immediately carries her off behind this like tattered curtain, right behind like this cell of creepy monsters or whatever. And of course, she's like not really screaming in fear. She's screaming about her lint. Like, it's my lint. It's my lint. This poor woman, very funny character. But oh my God, very traumatized. She's been surrounded by lint for God knows how long. And so from behind the curtain, we just hear a bunch of like loud buzzing and whirring sounds, and Doc Gerbil's menacing, Lulu May's menacing laughter.
There it is.
And we see like lights flashing and all of this. And Muriel and Eustace, they're watching from the Habitrail. Muriel is clearly like, oh my God, in shock.
Yeah.
Eustace, though, hilarious, still like thinking that this guy is just a door-to-door vacuum salesman, is like, this is where they get you.
They're going to upsell us so hard right now.
It's like, man, I'm never going to get out of this sale. God, it better come with all the attachments I need.
He's going to throw some encyclopedias in here, some knives, some Tupperware.
A timeshare.
A timeshare.
This is where they get you. And so the noise behind the curtain starts to die down. The lights stop flashing, and out comes Lulu May carrying a jar, like a mason jar, that's holding the lint lady. But now she's got suction cups for hands and feet.
Great.
And so, yeah, awesome. So she's like Spider-Man climbing through this jar. It's very creepy, actually. And especially just because she already is like a very odd character, we'll say. And so he places the jar down by the Habitrail, and he immediately picks up Muriel and Eustace, who at this point are obviously screaming, like, please don't do that to us.
Yep.
And Lulu May just says, you two look like you'll be mighty fine test subjects. I'm going to experiment on you with some of my newest products. Get the bugs out.
Oh, no.
You'll be fine. Why is he always telling people they'll be fine? Clearly they will not. And two,
it's all under control. No, it's not.
Direct. He's direct. He kind of complimented them. He said they'd be mighty fine test subjects.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my God, Lulu. So cute. But also, please just don't kill us. Yeah. Which, again, I said it before, it doesn't seem like he is a killer. He is doing some very wild, unethical, immoral, and just straight out disturbingly gross things to these people. But he's not killing anyone, at least that we know of. Or
not on purpose, maybe.
Intentionally, exactly. And so he drags Muriel and Eustace out of this Habitrail and carries them off behind the curtain, which meanwhile, Lint Lady, who is like suction cup Spider-Man crawling throughout this mason jar, she actually is able to like pop the lid off and sneak out. So she's now running to her freedom.
That's another criminal origin story right there.
By the way, because she's not going to get the suctions off of her hands either at this rate if you're escaping. So like she's probably going to become like some cat burglar or something. She's also miniaturized too. Interesting. I would love to see her resurgence one day.
Yes.
I'm going to think of that. Good point.
Lint Lady.
So, yeah, Lint Lady. So Courage, he is running through this cage or this cave, and he actually runs into the Lint Lady, and she like scares the shit out of him because again, she's scary looking and has suction cup for hands and feet.
Yep, understandable.
And it's funny, he like screams in her face, and her reaction, she's like, "What's the matter with you? Haven't you ever seen a lady before?"
Ma'am.
She's like gyrating and like,
oh God.
It's hilarious. Oh man, I love this episode so much.
I love this Lint Lady. She's
I love this Lint Lady. Yeah, she is. Who knew that she would be the main character? She's the main character in every story. Let's be real.
Clearly.
So Courage, he cuts to the chase. He's like, I don't have time for this. Have you seen Muriel and Eustace? He like holds a picture up to her. And Lint Lady is just like, oh, he's doing terrible things over there. Terrible. And like points Courage in the right direction. So Courage runs off to go save them. But the Lint Lady's last line, well, second to last line of this episode is right after Courage runs off. And she's like, he's doing terrible things. She's like, but they ain't getting my lint. She just runs away.
Definitely criminal origin story.
She's criminal. Yeah, she is about to go steal the lint from like all of the richest people.
Yep.
And she's gonna be like climbing into your dryers and like pulling the lint thing out. She's actually going to be like the criminals that help you. Have you heard of like that meme trend or whatever? It's like you can shoot like lasers out of your eyes, but you're hired to like work every barbecue or something like that. So it's like you're only using your powers for good. It's like, yeah, she has an affinity to steal lint, so she's forbidding house fires by taking lint out of all these people.
She's actually like employed by the fire department.
Yeah.
Well, I love her.
Yeah, Lint Lady's awesome. So anyway, Courage, he takes her direction, he runs off. And I should say, this cave that Doc Gerbil has like dug and or found, it's got like all of these little streams and stuff going through it, and like little, dare I say, rivers? I mean, it's like pretty thick bodies of water. Yeah. Because there's actually like boats that are docked underneath there.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, we talked about Dr. Gerbil's little bit of narcissism that probably resulted from him being like known as the gerbil, or like the lab testing animal hero, the gerbil god. And also because he's achieved like quite a bit of success selling his deodorant and his mouthwash and all of these different cosmetic products. He's created on this like underground cave river system, an amusement park type of ride.
Oh my God.
Called The World of Doc Gerbil.
It's a small world ride at Disney.
The entire time, and every time I watch the episode, I laugh so hard because Courage is riding this boat through this ride, and over all you hear is, it's Doc Gerbil's world. It's Doc Gerbil's world.
So literally, yes,
Doc Gerbil's world.
Also, it's low-key terrifying.
Super terrifying, but that's why it's also so funny because there are like animatronics electronics in it too, but it's all of the stuff that Doc Gerbil has created.
done.
So it's like deodorant that's like shaking around up and down, and like mascara that's like lifting up and out of like the mascara tube.
Who did he make this for?
I don't. That's his narcissism. He made it for himself. He's running a criminal enterprise down here. He is literally using this cave to test kidnapped human subjects on products that he's then going to sell into commerce. He's not going to let the general viewing public come down here to experience this ride. Yeah. So he has literally created this for himself, for his own lack of hubris.
Damn.
Or his excessive hubris. So yeah, it's pretty bad. Courage, he's like riding this on this boat going through it. At a certain point, he like has put like cotton balls in his ears because he's like, I cannot take it anymore. He is like at the end of his rope, getting ready to like dive out of this little boat that's taking him down the stream. But just as he's diving or getting ready to dive, he looks up and sees like a two-way mirror, not even a two-way mirror. It's like straight up a display case. So it's like Dr. Gerbil wants you to see, if you're riding this ride, his lab where he is experimenting on Muriel and Eustace. So Courage is like, oh my God, thank goodness I didn't jump out before because I missed this. So he instead just like hops out there. He sneaks in through like the air vents. We'll say it's confusing, but whatever. He sneaks into this lab through this like two-way mirror or what have you. Yeah. And he hides while Dr. Gerbil says that he's got to like run and probably go check on some other test subjects, honestly. But I will say the things he's doing to Muriel and Eustace are it's very, very, very strange sort of experiments. He's like feeding them this goop and they like inflate and then just like blow up into like balloons and then like, but like their bodies are still normal. And like he puts this lipstick on them and their lips like enlarge in and then just like pop. And he's like looking at it like, So he's like actually like running like hypotheses and stuff.
Oh, so my first thought with the lip one, I'm like, he's like competing with like, what is like Kylie Jenner's like Kardashian like cosmetics lines.
Yeah, pretty much.
Good.
Like, what is it? Like Skin by Kim or whatever. Yeah. He's like, I've got to be better.
I'm going to be better than the Kardashians.
I want to create a line that appeals to old farm grannies. I need an old farm granny to test on.
No one's selling to them, damn it. Yeah, I will.
That's the lost demo. The lost demographic. So anyway, Courage, he sneaks his way in as Lulu leaves to go check on other test subjects. And he takes this opportunity to grab the vacuum cleaner and sucks Uriel, Eustace and Uriel. Right on up into this vacuum. Yeah, kind of cute, if only it wasn't so toxic. But Lulu May returns, unfortunately, just as Courage is finishing up this rescue. And Lulu is like shocked to see Courage there and to see him taking the test subjects. Like, how dare you? I just rescued you from these captors. I freed you. I helped you. Yeah. So clearly this has never happened before in all of his other kidnapping exploits. The animals, well, they probably couldn't talk or like whatever. They weren't as smart as Courage. So they're probably just like, oh, I guess I have no owner anymore, and like became strays.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to feed me now? I'm a domesticated animal.
Yeah. I guess no one. Oh, well. Wow. Which makes Lulu look terrible, by the way. It's exactly. Like that's the worst thing about him, that he is creating so many stray pets.
Right. Like they don't know how to for themselves.
Sorry, humans. Yeah, they don't know what to do. And he doesn't realize this either. He's just like, no, y'all free.
You're welcome.
Free. So Courage, seeing that Lulu is like running towards him, super shocked about this rescue attempt, he just like breaks the glass that is separating them from that river from the world of Dr. Gerbil. And of course, as soon as he like takes the glass off, you just hear the music. Like, oh my God, make it stop. But he quickly runs out with the vacuum and he like knocks over the giant animatronic Doc Gerbil's deodorant and is like spreading it around on the floor to get it all slippery and everything. And Doc Gerbil actually terrifyingly is like sprinting after them. And thankfully, though, he slips on the deodorant. So maybe his products worked a little bit too well. And he Doc Gerbil bumps directly into this giant bottle of Doc Gerbil's bubble bath. And it slips into this river or this current, and then it just creates this massive, giant, bubbly mess, which creates what I think is the greatest scene of this episode and maybe of any Courage episode. Whoa. It's this high action packed like water chase because the bubbles coming out of this cave look like an explosion almost, just like this plume of bubbles. In Courage, he's hitched back onto this boat and you just see his boat like shoot through the bubbles right before it like takes over action film. Yes, but it gets even actionier because Doc Gerbil is right on his tail and he's on a jet ski, Grace.
This is a rich fucking Gerbil also.
It's super successful because he's still in his like checkered suit as well.
It's very like James Bond. And
it gets better because the music immediately shifts. Like as soon as you hear like the rumble of these bubbles getting ready to shoot through the cave, it gets silent and you hear this like a soprano orchestra, no, not an orchestra, sorry, like a what do you call it, instrument, not a choir, but when they have no instruments, acapella, thank you, I just had a brain fart. It's like this acapella choir, very angelic and like ethereal, like like the music sounds like it should be like in the Terminator or something, like at a scene where just like there's this massive explosion and you're just like taking in all the damage.
Slow-mo.
And Courage and Doc Gerbil are chasing each other. They like shoot out of the sewer grate and into the bay. They're whipping around like the coastline or whatever.
Oh my God.
Going crazy. And Doc Gerbil whips out these giant like pliers so that he can try to get the vacuum out of the boat. At this point, he doesn't care about what happens to Courage. He just needs his test subjects back. And so they're chasing each other. This intense music is still playing in the background. And Courage notices that there's a waterfall up ahead.
Of course.
So he's like, oh shit. He whips the boat around. So he like starts going the other way towards Doc Gerbil. He takes the vacuum cleaner, sets it to exhaust so that it like blows air out and pushes their boat towards the shoreline so that he can like jump out. And very smart, good boy. Doc Gerbil is like, oh shit, well, I should just jump on the boat then. But he gets too caught in the current and he's a little bit too far away from the boat. He jumps out, just misses the boat and gets shot down the waterfall. And you just hear again the choir like, oh, it's like this lamentation music. It's like you just see Doc Gerbil down. But unfortunately, maybe not unfortunately, Doc Gerbil, he does survive, but he has definitely suffered from some traumatic brain injury of some sort. You see him, like his head looks injured. He's just sitting on the shore, soaking wet at the bottom of this waterfall, laughing maniacally. Oh God. Just like eyes all going in different directions. He is, so I suspect that he's turning into like the Joker at this point. Just like totally insane. But anyway, so Courage, he gets Muriel and Eustace back to the farm. He ejects them. They're also happy. They, everyone's safe. And somehow, though, surprisingly, the lint lady,
she's back.
She's back. She somehow got sucked up in the vacuum. And when Courage takes Muriel and Eustace out, she is still somehow miniature. Eustace and Muriel are back to their regular size, but the lint lady is back in Eustace's bowl of soup, just kind of swimming around, talking about her lint. Yeah. So maybe they have a new pet, and that's the end.
Also, maybe Lint Lady, maybe other origin story is that she becomes the Harley Quinn to Joker. And they become a duo.
Yes. Dr. Will comes back just to save her. He's like, I need her. Or excuse me, I need her.
There it is.
Yeah. Although who knows, after that head injury, that waterfall fall, he may sound very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let me say his
amazing
accent. Work. Thank you. His accent though killed me.
I am so excited to watch this episode. Like, I know we have to record like the next episode or after this, but like I'm like, okay, 20-minute break so I can go watch it.
Like real quick 11-minute break? You only got to watch that one half. Yeah, true. I mean, we usually do like 15-minute breaks maybe, but no.
I'll watch it later. Yeah, great work.
Later. Thank you. So I like to believe that Dr. Gerbil could, in theory, make another appearance. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he doesn't. This is the only episode he's in, and Courage is over. There's no new episodes, unfortunately. But he would have been the perfect return or like rerun criminal, if you ask me, like later on in the show, because he definitely had, I guess he had motive, I suppose, and he was creepy enough for sure,
and smart enough to, even with his brain injury now.
Yeah. We'll see how that affects him. But anyway, yes. Wow, so thank you.
Good job.
Episode 2 of Courage. Yes.
Wow, what a journey!
Indeed.
I love it. Great. Good job.
Cool. So next week we'll be back. Grace will share another episode from the Tales of Courage the Cowardly Dog, another monster and or villain. I guess this is a lot like LeQuack, where last week's episode, where he's figuratively a monster.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's figuratively a monster. He's not literally, but we will get to some monsters soon. At least I know I will. So until then, though, Grace, who should our dear audience members tell about this lovely podcast?
So, in thinking about our lone gerbil back spinal fracture researcher, I think you should tell your chiropractor.
Nice.
Yeah. Go tell a chiropractor, maybe get some kinks out while you're there, get that neck cracked, and while he's cracking your back or she's cracking your back, all that stuff. They're cracking your back. What about this podcast? And, maybe tell them about this episode specifically, because that has to, we talk about spines at some point. Yeah. And maybe it'll inspire your chiropractor to change course and help take care of the horrible, horrible pandemic that's taking over this world of gerbil spinal fractures. Put an end.
This is a global crisis. Threat level orange.
Spinal fractures. We need more people on it.
Please, forget your chiropractic practice. Change get a course. Veterinarian license. Combine that knowledge. Please, the gerbils need you. Save the gerbils.
Save the gerbils.
To that end, I will say then go treat yourself, ladies and gents, and anyone in between, and go get yourself a massage. Nice. And tell the massage therapist, while they're working through, especially your traps and stuff like that, get very tense, all of that, the shoulders, once you hear that cracking and everything as they're making their way down, be like, oh yeah, by the way, have you ever given a gerbil massage? Because apparently they have spine issues, according to a podcast that I listened to.
An expert podcast.
They're experts on gerbils now, as of this week. So go tell one of them that we talked about bad spines, I guess, some sort of living creature.
Yeah. Great. Well, cool. Until then, bye.
See ya. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.